Hello, hi everyone. It's been a little while, I know. I hope you're really well. And I've been doing really good as well. And yes, it's been 7 years. It's true. I can't believe myself. So today I want to talk about what happens after 7 years being on keto as a vegan. Share some insights that I've gained throughout the years. So in the past, if you've been following the channel for a little while, you probably have seen my yearly update. So last year, I think I did an update on a live stream, and it was really interesting for me. And I'd like to do a bit more live stream going forward, hopefully. So I want to talk about in terms of how I feel having been this way of living for this length of time. But also I want to touch upon things maybe not so obvious and also more nuanced. And I think a lot of what I'm going to say is quite universal. Doesn't matter if you're vegan, vegetarian, or you're neither. So day-to-day basis, surprisingly, I rarely think about, well, my quote-unquote diet. Just like being a vegan, eating low carb is just the way it is. So physically, I feel great. I feel really strong. So I've been teaching a lot of yoga and doing a few other things that demands sort of physical stamina and strength as well. So in terms of the way I eat and the food choices, etc., have changed slightly in terms of my eating pattern, not vastly, because now I'm less sort of routine in a sense in terms of the things I do. So I teach classes in different times of the day and different days of the week. So I have to make changes so it will work for me. So overall, I think my natural pattern for my body is still very much one main meal a day. So by main meal, I simply mean that something involves cooking, more preparation, a little bit more, and also a sit-down meal. That normally happens sometime in the afternoon, sometimes a lot later. If I have to teach till a little bit later in the afternoon, I tend to delay that main meal afterwards. So generally, I don't like to consume too much food before physical exercise. As a teacher, I don't have to do the classes from beginning to the end, but there's a lot of demonstration. So that still involves a lot of energy. So I like my body to be nice and light. And when I go home, then, I sit down, prepare some food and eat. So that could happen late afternoon or later in the evening. So that's generally the pattern. It's not the same, so I have to think on my feet and kind of tune into how my body feels that particular day. And it's been working quite well. I'm one of those people that I can eat kind of just before bedtime and I'm totally fine. Sleeping with full stomach, it hasn't really affected my body that much, even if I eat a little bit later. And also, to be honest, being on keto, the quantity of food tends to be on the smaller side comparing to if I was not on keto. So it's worked out well. I think the biggest changes would be probably, as I mentioned, the timetable side. It's kind of good to know that it's workable. Well, at least my body doesn't have to eat at the same time every day. Generally, I just eat when I'm hungry and when I have time. That's the kind of freedom you have when you're on keto. From the moment you think you should eat something to the point you have to eat something, there's quite a large buffer zone there. It rarely feels urgent, if that makes sense. I think if you've been on keto for a while, you can probably identify with that. So day to day is very simple. I get up in the morning, I have some coffee, and maybe some nuts if I'm hungry. I'm really hungry in the morning. I'm not a breakfast person. So I go out and do whatever I have to do and then maybe snack in between. Normally a few nuts or maybe some crackers I made myself, seed crackers, that type of things. Maybe some homemade biscuits if I'm feeling extravagant. And that's pretty much it. And I'm sorted for the day until I have the time to have my main meal of the day, whenever it is, in the afternoon or late in the evening. And on the energy level, I'm feeling really strong. I don't know what I would have felt if I was on the quote-unquote, regular diet. And then I want to talk about weight, body weight. I think, some of you, if you choose this way of eating, maybe you have certain goals. You want to reduce the body weight. To be honest, I haven't been on the scale for probably the last couple of years. So if you've been following my journey, if you watch sort of earlier updates in the first probably up to 3-4 year mark, I used to weigh myself every day. So I had a digital scale, I still have it, that I can track it with my app. So throughout the years, it's built up a lot of data. So I was able to see where my body weight goes. It was really useful and important for me because I literally do not track anything else. I do not track my keto level as such. What else do you track? Sugar level, anything involves numbers I didn't do other than stepping on a scale once a day. I think it was once a day. It was kind of my only indicator, so to speak, and it served me for a while. I kind of felt like I didn't need it anymore because it's been very, very stable, and I think my weight hasn't really changed much. And you can gauge that through the way you feel, how light you feel, and clothes as well. There's another indicator. So I was happy to let that go. The less I have to do to stay on this way of living, the better for me. So I no longer weigh myself, but I think it's been very stable. So life has become simpler. And in terms of physical exercise, so in the past, it's been a long while. I've been doing a lot of yoga, Pilates, and occasionally I go for a run. I've been running less recently, just bandwidth, just the time, there's my excuses. But I still do a lot of yoga, self-practices if I don't have time to go to classes. And also by just teaching, it does require a lot of demonstration. It's different from practicing yoga yourself. So that's a separate thing, but that's more of a yogi definition of what yoga should be, what a practice should be. But in terms of the physical demand, it's there. If I teach 2 or 3 classes a day, those days would burn up a lot of energy. And I normally feel great. I'm one of those people that I can charge through 2 or 3 classes, no problem. As long as they're not too far apart, I find my energy tend to drop a little bit more. If I have to teach one class, then wait for 2-3 hours for the next class, I don't do that well. So I'm one of those, charge all the way through and then rest type of person. So I'm trying to arrange the sort of class structure that way as well. So I have a lot of energy, despite the fact that if you look at my daily consumption of food, it doesn't seem like a lot, particularly if you're not on keto. You look at the frequency I eat and the quantity I eat, you're going to be wondering whether, that's enough to sustain the kind of activities I am. But somehow it does. If it's working, I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to temper with it. If it works, it works. So today I also want to talk about things that are a little bit more nuanced. So I want to talk about what very often being defined as cheat days. So I don't have cheat days. The default position is eating low carb, ketogenic, and I'm a vegan for a long time, so I just eat vegan and try to make things as plant-based as possible. So since I've been on keto back in 2018, I think the first time I felt like I'm really craving for some carbohydrate, some carby things. It was probably about 1.5 years into this way of eating. So when it first happened, to be honest, I was very unsure. I was struggling a little bit because I wasn't sure what was going to happen if I decided to eat some carbs. Because prior to embarking on this process, my previous attempts have been, it doesn't matter, it's low carb diet or low fat diet or whatever diet you call it. Normally, if I ever kind of break the diet, so to speak, then everything just falls apart. That was my experience up to that point. But then I made a decision with myself. I felt that it's a bit like a dance that you do with your mind and your body. So if you have certain craving and then you decide to push it away and then it comes back and then you push it away again, essentially you're creating resistance. It's probably going to come back stronger each time, and then you have to fight back, and eventually you can't anymore. So in my mind, I was battling that. I wasn't sure what was going to happen if I was to eat some lentils, but I decided, okay, I had to trust myself in a way and see what happens, because the only way to find out what happens is to, try it and see how it goes. And I knew I was in this way of eating in the long run. I knew this way of eating serves me, so I wanted to stay there. So I didn't want to create more resistance. So I think it was about a year and a half into it, I decided to eat, I think maybe some rice and some lentils, something like that. It was delicious. Don't get me wrong. It was delicious because the craving was there. It kind of hit the spot. And it was fine. I really enjoyed it. So I think I was eating rice and maybe some rice, lentils, and maybe some bread for about 2 weeks, if I remember correctly. And that was a pretty long time to go from very, very low carb to eating a lot of carbs, essentially. Even though they're not refined carbs, I would say I didn't go as far as sugar. I didn't, taste sugar, even though, bread depends on the type of bread. Essentially you're eating sugar. There's not that much different. It was quite weird. In the back of my mind, I had this strange confidence that my body would know when I'll be done with it and I'll go back to eating low carb again. Even though in that process, I didn't know when that was going to happen, but it did. I think the fact that it happened after more than a year later rather than 2 weeks later. If you go on keto for 2 weeks and then you decide to eat some carbs, then that's probably a different story. But the fact that my body was already kind of established a new way of being, the body knows what's best for it. I think I was right in trusting it by allowing myself to eat some carbs and release that quote-unquote craving and temptation, so to speak. The body comes to realization that it's much better eating low carb. You feel a lot better, even though I wasn't feeling terrible when I was eating carbs. I could definitely tell the difference. I was a bit more sluggish physically. I probably gained like 1 kilo or so, not tremendously in 2 weeks. But a lot of that was probably the body holding on to more liquid. Carbohydrate latches onto liquid. I think I hit about 2-week mark. I started to have some heartburn as well. So this is one of the things when I eat carbohydrate, doesn't matter if it's low GI carbs or any kind of carbs, my body doesn't like it. So it manifests itself into maybe feeling a little bit sluggish and a little bit of a heartburn as well. So it's my body saying, oh, this is enough. And the following day, I remember I just went back eating, I was craving for my low carb vegetables again. And that was that. I don't remember suffering any kind of the normal symptoms you will have, like keto flu, etc. I don't remember any of that. I kind of just went back the next day and that was that. And I just moved on. This type of craving comes back maybe once a year after that. And then I'll just allow myself to eat whatever I'm craving. Most of the times lentils and some rice. But most of the times would be much shorter than 2 weeks. So most of the times I think ranging from sometimes just one meal and it's out of my system, or maybe a few days, and that's that. So it becomes part of what I expect to happen from time to time. So in a way, I'm relaxed, and this is so important because then it doesn't become a source of fear, thinking that, oh my God, the cravings are gonna come back and I have to fight it. Instead, I'm in a mental state that I know that if I'm craving for some carbohydrate or even some bread, I'll just have it, get it out of my system, and then move forward. And I know it works because it's worked before. So this is something I want to talk about. I think for me, it's important not to define it as a cheat day or cheat period, because I'm not cheating. I'm just allowing my body to go into kind of have that variation, embracing what body needs or wants sometimes, but being able to have the ability to guide it back. Well, not so much my ability, but my body's ability to do that. And trust the body to have that kind of intelligence to know when is a good time to stop, come back to a way that kind of serves your body a little bit more. Like I said, it's a dance with your body and your mind as well. Our mind sometimes creates traps, kind of corner you. And if you don't recognize that's happening, you could feel trapped and feel fearful and not knowing what to do. That for me was a big, learning from the past few years. And I remember talking to Serious Ketos a few months before on a live stream, and he talked about he would kind of just eat with the family, however the family eat. I'm presuming they're probably not eating keto or low carb. And he would just eat with the family when he goes on holiday. But when he comes back, he resumes ketogenic way of eating. I think for me, that's great, because then you have that line drawn in between. For me, I follow my natural craving, but for him, life is a lot easier when you go on holiday to just participate in whatever your family does. And when you come back, you just reset everything and go back to your normal way of eating. So these are the kind of strategies that are really helpful. I think when you start to think about any kind of life habit to be black and white, essentially, I say you're setting yourself up for failure, whatever failure means. But I think for me, this is just the way I live rather than some special things that I have to do. So the less I have to do, the better. I was talking about a scale. I was talking about any kind of measurements that you have to do. If by doing these things, it brings you motivation and clarity, then by all means do so. But you shouldn't become a slave of these things. And it takes some time. It's not an instant thing. I think for the first few years, the scale really served me. And it was a big step for me, because prior to that, I talked about my experience as a Down student. I had to be measured and weighed every school term. If I gain anything, which is most of the time, then I, get this look from the senior girls, and you probably hear from the teacher to say that you have to sort yourself out. And being so young and not understanding what I was doing to my body and how to control it in any way, it was traumatic. So scale and measurement have been, something that I run away from, stay away from. So for me to get a scale to even weigh myself, that was big. But I got to the point that I didn't feel that I needed it anymore. So I let that go. But if I ever need it again, then I'll do it. That's perfectly fine for me. So this is my kind of general high-level update for 7 years being on keto vegan. And where has time gone? So I think the takeaway from the experience so far is that it's sustainable. I know I've been away for a little bit, but it's just bandwidth. But I'm learning to create more space to create content for the channel. I sometimes get a bit tunnel vision. I kind of focus on one thing and I do that. There's a lot I want to share with you. I want to talk about maybe supplements, which I haven't really talked about a lot, and specific foods you can have that really gives you a lot of energy, and probably, deep dive into some of the topics. So you might not be aware that I have a yoga channel and it has no content yet. So I created it quite a while back, intending to create content, yoga content for you. And then it just kind of never happened. And so I'm trying to create more space and bandwidth to do that. And also, create content for this channel as well. So there might be some content coming through to the yoga channel. I'll put a link down below. If you're interested, you can subscribe to it. So when there's content coming out, you will know about it. Just give you a little hint. There may be some stuff that can help you with release stress and also sleep as well. I don't know whether you've heard of yoga nidra, which is slightly different from meditation, but it's a form of yoga practice that allows you to relax and either go to sleep or just rest, something like that. So I'm looking at create some content there because I think sleep and rest and de-stress is so important to the quality of our lives. So as someone who struggles to go to sleep sometimes because the brain is still active, so something like Yoga Nidra can really help. So I'm looking to put out some content around that realm. So if you're interested, you can subscribe to the channel now. So when there's content coming out, you will know about it. And also, if you're in London area, so I have a yoga workshop coming up in June. It's on the 7th of June. It's a Saturday, and it's a 4-hour workshop. So I know the people watching this channel, they're from all over the world. I don't know how many of you are in London, but if you're in London, if you're interested in coming to the workshop, I'll put a link down below as well, and then there's a link to my website. You can have a look. It would be great to meet some of the viewers there. And otherwise, I want to say it's really great to come back, and I'm looking to create more content and delicious recipes as well. And if you haven't got my book yet, it's got some really, really wonderful recipes from this channel. You can download it from your local Amazon website. Instantly, you have this book in your pocket wherever you go. You don't need Kindle devices to use the book. You just download the Kindle app from wherever, whatever device you use or platform, and it would just work. And it's a great book to have because you have in your pocket. You can go shopping, you can check on the ingredients that you need to buy, and give you some inspiration in your kitchen as well. So I'll put the link below. So the link is underneath as well. So check out the book. So it's great to be back with you, and thanks for hanging out with me, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.